What a great question, Ellen. You likely can state a prima facie case of battery. Here's how to do it. You have to prove the elements of battery, which are acting with the intention of causing contact with another person, harmful or offensive contact results, and it's to another person. We first have to establish the intent element. To establish the intent element, the plaintiff must show that the defendant had a purpose to cause harmful or offensive contact, which is specific intent, or acted knowing to a substantial certainty that such contact occurred, which is general intent. It is also important to note that with battery specifically, there are two kinds of intent, single or dual intent. Single intent is the intent to cause contact, whereas dual intent, the plaintiff must show that the defendant intended the contact and that it is harmful or offensive. The majority of jurisdictions require single intent, so we will do the same. Now, in the video, you see my mother and sister fighting one another. It can be inferred that they both acted with the desire or purpose to make contact with each other while they were shoving one another. However, it is unclear if my sister actually wanted to hit me. But no worries, Ellen. There is a doctrine for this situation. The transferred intent doctrine is when an actor intends to commit one tort but commits another, or intends to commit a tort against one person and commits the tort against another, or intends to commit one tort against one person but then commits a different tort against a different person. Here, Ellen can use the transferred intent doctrine to transfer the intent from my sister's battery against my mom to me, similar to the basket case where the mom broke up the teenager's fight at a party. The next element is harmful or offensive contact. The plaintiff must show that the defendant caused a harmful or offensive contact. A harmful contact is injury, pain, or illness, and an offensive contact is any touching, even one that does not cause physical injury, that would be offensive to a reasonable person's sense of dignity. In the video, we see my sister hit me across the face and I fall to the ground. It can be assumed that striking someone with your hand would cause injury or pain. Therefore, because my sister hit my face, harmful contact is established. The last element that needs to be established is to another person. The plaintiff must show a contact to the person of the plaintiff or something so closely associated with the plaintiff as to be considered a part of it. Here, my sister's hand slapped my face. My face is part of my person. Therefore, she made contact to my face, and the final element is satisfied. Thus, Ellen can likely state a prima facie case of battery.
Wow, I can't stand my neighbor.
You're the worst neighbor ever. Can I sue?
Great question, George. In order to know that, we have to prove the elements of trespass to land. Those elements are intentionally causing entry onto real property of another person. The first element is intent. The plaintiff must prove the defendant had the desire or purpose to enter the property of another, or the defendant acted knowing with substantial certainty to enter the property of another. Here, Ellen threw a dog toy onto her neighbor's yard after she announced she cannot stand them. It can be inferred that there is a desire to throw something on someone's property when you do not like them. Therefore, specific intent is established. The next element is actual entry. The plaintiff must prove the defendant enters land in the possession of another or causes a thing or third party to do so. Here, the dog toy goes over the neighbor's fence and lands in their yard. Actual entry is established by the toy landing in their lawn. The final element is onto the real property of another. The defendant entered the property belonging to another person, or caused a third party or thing to. Here, Ellen threw a dog toy in their yard. A dog toy is an object that was thrown onto the property belonging to George. Because of this, the third element is satisfied, and George can likely state a prima facie case against Ellen for trespass to land.
Can I sue?
Oh, Maddie, you can try. You must establish all the elements of false imprisonment, which are intent, confinement, and conscious of confinement or harm by confinement. The first element is intent. To establish intent, the plaintiff must prove the defendant acted with the desire or purpose to confine a person against their will, or the defendant acted knowing with substantial certainty their conduct was confining a person against their will. Here, we see Ellen locked Maddie into the room without Maddie's consent. We can assume locking and holding the door preventing them from getting out is acting with a desire to confine a person against their will. Therefore, specific intent is established. Next, confinement. To establish the element of confinement, the plaintiff must prove that the confinement is complete, the plaintiff was subject directly or indirectly to the boundaries fixed by the actor, and there are no reasonable means of escape. Confinement must be against the plaintiff's will. Here, Ellen locked Maddie into a room where she could not escape. Ellen fixed the boundaries Maddie was trapped in and prohibited her from escaping. Thus, the second element is established. Lastly, consciousness of confinement or harm by confinement. The plaintiff needs to be conscious of confinement or harm by confinement. Here, we can hear Maddie say that she feels intentionally confined, so she is conscious of the confinement. The last element is satisfied, therefore Maddie can prove a prima facie case against Ellen for false imprisonment.